Do consider tapping or clicking on the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if this sparked a little calm or curiosity. No pressure, only if your finger feels like doing it. Now settle into comfort, let your mind and body relax, and let's explore tonight's topic together. 1. The mantis shrimp delivers one of the most powerful strikes in the animal kingdom. When it attacks, its club-shaped appendages accelerate with the same speed as a .22 caliber bullet leaving the barrel. The strike happens so fast, just 0.003 of a second, that it creates something remarkable: cavitation bubbles in the water. These are areas where the liquid actually vaporizes from the sheer force of movement. When those bubbles collapse milliseconds later, they generate a secondary shockwave and produce a brief flash of light through sonoluminescence. According to research from the University of California, Berkeley, the impact can reach temperatures approaching the surface of the sun for a split second. The force easily shatters aquarium glass and splits open crab shells like we'd crack a walnut. What makes this even more astonishing is the scale. Most mantis shrimp are only a few inches long, yet they've evolved spring-loaded appendages that store and release energy like a microscopic crossbow. 2. Octopuses are built entirely differently from us, in ways that challenge everything we think we know about intelligence and consciousness. They have 3 hearts working in coordination, 2 pump blood to the gills, while the third circulates it to the rest of the body. Even stranger, they possess 9 brains. There's one central brain, yes, but each of their 8 arms has its own independent nervous system with enough neurons to process information, make decisions, and even learn without input from the central brain. Their blood is blue, colored by copper-based hemocyanin instead of iron-based hemoglobin like ours. But perhaps most remarkable is a discovery published in the journal Cell in 2017. Octopuses can edit their own RNA on the fly, allowing them to adapt their nervous system proteins in response to temperature changes in their environment. This ability is almost unheard of in the animal kingdom. 3. There's a jellyfish drifting through our oceans that has discovered something humans have sought for millennia: the secret to immortality. The immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis dohrnii, can reverse its aging process and theoretically live forever. When faced with stress, injury, starvation, or simply old age, this remarkable creature doesn't die. Instead, it reverts back to its juvenile polyp stage, essentially becoming young again. Imagine if a butterfly could transform back into a caterpillar, then grow into a butterfly again, repeating the cycle endlessly. The jellyfish accomplishes this through a cellular process called transdifferentiation, where mature, specialized cells convert back into stem cells and reorganize into a younger form. According to research from the Smithsonian Institution, this process can happen repeatedly with no apparent limit. The jellyfish has been observed cycling between life stages multiple times in laboratory conditions, essentially hitting the biological reset button whenever necessary. 4. Tardigrades, affectionately called water bears because of their lumbering, bear-like walk under a microscope, are nearly indestructible. These 8-legged microanimals, typically less than a millimeter long, survive conditions that would instantly kill almost any other form of life. The European Space Agency sent them into space, exposing them to the vacuum, extreme radiation, and freezing temperatures, and they survived. They can withstand pressure 6 times greater than the deepest ocean trenches, temperatures ranging from 328 degrees Celsius to 300 degrees Celsius, and they've been revived after being frozen for over 30 years. When conditions become harsh, tardigrades enter a state called cryptobiosis, essentially pausing their metabolism to near zero. They expel almost all water from their bodies, curl up, and wait. Years, even decades later, add water, and they simply reanimate and continue living. Scientists have found them thriving in volcanic vents, Antarctic ice, and the highest mountain peaks. 5. Blue whales are the largest animals ever to exist on Earth, larger than any dinosaur, reaching lengths up to 100 feet and weights approaching 200 tons. According to Smithsonian Marine Mammal Records, a blue whale's tongue alone weighs as much as an elephant, roughly 6,000 pounds. Their hearts weigh 400 pounds and are the size of a small car, with arteries large enough for a human child to crawl through. These enormous hearts beat only 2 times per minute during deep dives, one of the slowest heart rates of any mammal. Their calls are the loudest sounds produced by any animal, reaching 188 decibels, louder than a jet engine, and can be detected by other whales over 1,000 miles away. Despite their tremendous size, blue whales feed on some of the ocean's smallest animals, tiny shrimp like krill. They're filter feeders, gulping enormous mouthfuls of water containing krill, then filtering the water out through baleen plates while retaining thousands of krill. A blue whale can consume up to 4 tons of krill per day during feeding season. They're so large that nothing preys on healthy adults. Only orcas occasionally attack calves. Whaling devastated populations, but conservation efforts have allowed slow recovery, though they remain endangered. 6. Owls possess an almost supernatural ability to rotate their heads, swiveling up to 270 degrees in either direction, meaning they can look directly behind themselves without moving their bodies. According to research from Johns Hopkins University, this remarkable flexibility comes from having 14 neck vertebrae, exactly twice as many as humans and most mammals. But extreme flexibility alone would cause problems, rotating blood vessels that much should cut off blood flow to the brain, causing strokes or death. Owls have evolved several adaptations to prevent this. Their vertebral arteries are housed in bony channels 10 times wider than the arteries themselves, giving the vessels room to move and stretch without constricting. They have small vessel connections that create alternative blood pathways when the main route gets blocked during rotation. Their blood can pool in enlarged vessel cavities near the base of the head, creating reserves that maintain brain function during extreme head positions. These adaptations allow owls to scan their surroundings completely while remaining perfectly still and camouflaged. 7. In the frigid waters of the Arctic and North Atlantic swims a creature that puts our lifespans to shame. The Greenland shark doesn't even reach sexual maturity until approximately 150 years old. A 2016 study published in Science Journal used radiocarbon dating on the shark's eye lenses to determine their ages, revealing that these animals can live over 400 years, making them the longest lived vertebrates known to science. The oldest shark they examined was estimated at 392 years old, with a possible age range extending up to 512 years. That means Greenland sharks swimming in the ocean today could have been born before the American Revolution, before Shakespeare wrote his plays, or even during the Renaissance. They grow incredibly slowly, less than half an inch per year, moving through the dark, cold depths in slow motion for centuries. Scientists are studying them intensely, hoping to understand the biological mechanisms that allow such extreme longevity. 8. Seahorses have completely reversed typical reproductive roles in one of nature's most unusual arrangements. The female produces the eggs, but then deposits them into the male's specialized brood pouch during mating. Inside this pouch, the male fertilizes the eggs and his body takes over completely. He provides oxygen, regulates salinity, removes waste, and even supplies nutrients through a placenta-like structure remarkably similar to mammalian pregnancy. According to Smithsonian Ocean Research, he carries the developing embryos for 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the species. When it's time, the male seahorse experiences genuine labor, rhythmic muscular contractions that can last hours, and gives birth to anywhere from 5 to 2,000 fully formed miniature seahorses. He can become pregnant again within hours of giving birth, It's one of the only examples in nature where males truly experience pregnancy and childbirth, complete with all the physical demands and biological changes that entails. 9. The African gray parrot demonstrates linguistic abilities that challenge our understanding of animal communication and intelligence. According to comparative psychology research, particularly studies conducted with Alex, a famous African gray who worked with scientist Irene Pepperberg for 30 years, these parrots can learn over 1,000 words, understand concepts like color, shape, size, and number, and use language contextually with comprehension rather than mere mimicry. Alex could identify objects by color and material, count to 6, understand bigger and smaller, express desires, and even say no when he wanted something different. When shown a green wooden square, he could answer questions about what color it was, what shape it was, and what it was made of. He understood zero as a concept, the absence of quantity. When tired of testing, he'd say things like, "Wanna go back," to his cage. Most remarkably, when he made mistakes, he'd correct himself, showing metacognition, awareness of his own thinking. African greys in the wild use complex vocalizations and live in social groups requiring sophisticated communication. Their intelligence isn't just language. They solve mechanical puzzles, use tools, and demonstrate reasoning abilities comparable to a 5-year-old human child. 10. Vampire bats are the only mammals that feed exclusively on blood, and contrary to their fearsome reputation, they're remarkably sophisticated in their feeding strategies. According to mammalogy behavioral studies, vampire bats don't suck blood. They make a small incision with razor-sharp teeth and lap up blood as it flows. Their saliva contains an anticoagulant called draculin that prevents blood from clotting, allowing it to flow freely. They typically feed on sleeping livestock, making incisions so precise the animal rarely wakes. What's particularly interesting is their social behavior. Vampire bats live in colonies and share food through regurgitation. If a bat fails to feed one night, it will starve within 48 to 60 hours. Other bats, particularly those who've been helped before, will regurgitate blood to feed hungry colony members, demonstrating reciprocal altruism. On the ground, vampire bats are surprisingly agile, capable of running, jumping, and hopping with remarkable speed using their thumb and wrist joints. This ground mobility helps them approach sleeping prey stealthily. 11. Wombat droppings are cube-shaped, and for years this puzzled scientists who couldn't understand how any animal could produce geometric feces. A 2018 study from the Georgia Institute of Technology finally solved the mystery through detailed analysis of wombat intestines. Unlike most mammals whose intestines contract uniformly, wombats have differential elasticity in their intestinal walls. Some sections stretch easily, while others remain relatively stiff. As digestion occurs, this uneven elasticity literally molds the waste into cubes over the final 8% of the intestinal journey. But why cubes? Wombats are territorial and mark their boundaries by stacking their droppings on rocks and logs. Cubes don't roll away like spheres would, staying exactly where placed to serve as territorial markers. The higher they stack them, the more visible the territorial claim. Each wombat produces 80 to 100 cube-shaped droppings per day, carefully arranging them around their territory like tiny, smelly building blocks. 12. Hummingbirds are the helicopters of the bird world, possessing flight capabilities no other bird can match. They're the only birds capable of sustained backward flight and can hover perfectly still in mid-air, even fly upside down for short periods. Their wings beat in a figure-8 pattern rather than up and down, allowing them to generate lift on both the forward and backward stroke. According to research from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, their wings can beat 80 times per second, creating the distinctive humming sound that gives them their name. During courtship dives, some species' wings beat over 200 times per second. To power this extraordinary flight, their hearts beat up to 1,260 times per minute. That's 21 beats every single second. They must consume half their body weight in nectar daily just to survive, visiting hundreds of flowers. At night, they enter a hibernation-like state called torpor, dropping their metabolism by 95% to conserve energy until morning. 13. The mimic octopus is a master of disguise that takes camouflage to an entirely different level. Most animals that use camouflage simply match their background, but the mimic octopus physically impersonates other creatures. Research from the Marine Biological Laboratory at Woods Hole has documented it, imitating over 15 different species, including lionfish, sea snakes, jellyfish, stingrays, flatfish, and sea anemones. It changes not just color and texture, but actually alters its body shape, swimming style, and behavior to match whichever animal it's mimicking. When threatened by a damselfish, it might impersonate a sea snake. When a different predator approaches, it switches to mimicking a lionfish, spreading its arms to resemble venomous spines. It chooses its disguise based on the specific threat it faces, demonstrating not just physical transformation, but sophisticated decision-making and understanding of predator-prey relationships. This adaptive mimicry requires remarkable intelligence and body control. 14. Naked mole rats are bizarre in almost every way, but their most remarkable feature might be their apparent immunity to cancer and aging. These wrinkly, nearly hairless rodents live in underground colonies in East Africa, and according to research published in Nature Journal, they can survive up to 30 years, about 10 times longer than similarly sized mice. Even more astonishing, they don't seem to age in the traditional sense. Their mortality rate doesn't increase with age like it does in virtually every other mammal, including humans. They also rarely develop cancer, thanks to a mechanism involving high molecular mass hyaluronan that prevents cells from overcrowding and forming tumors. They can survive 18 minutes without oxygen by switching their metabolism to use fructose instead of glucose, essentially functioning like plants during that period. Their wrinkled, loose skin lacks pain receptors, and they're resistant to acid. Scientists study them intensively, hoping to unlock secrets about aging, cancer resistance, and longevity. 15. Dolphins possess a sophisticated form of communication that goes far beyond simple sounds. Research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences has revealed that each dolphin develops a unique signature whistle early in life that functions essentially as its name. These aren't just random sounds, they're distinct, individually identifying calls that remain consistent throughout their lifetime. When dolphins want to get another specific dolphin's attention, they reproduce that individual's signature whistle, effectively calling them by name. The addressed dolphin responds to its whistle, but typically ignores others' names. Dolphins use these names to maintain contact when separated, coordinate group hunting, and strengthen social bonds. Mother dolphins whistle their signature call frequently when their calves are born, essentially teaching their babies their names. This kind of vocal learning and individual identification is rare in the animal kingdom, previously thought to be limited to humans, some birds, and a few other species. 16. The African lungfish has mastered survival in environments where most fish would die within hours. According to comparative physiology research, when the rivers and ponds they inhabit dry up during droughts, lungfish don't simply die or migrate, they estivate, entering a state of suspended animation. As water levels drop, the lungfish burrows into the mud and secretes a mucus cocoon around its entire body, leaving only a small breathing tube to the surface. Inside this protective capsule, its metabolism slows dramatically, and it can survive for up to 4 years without food or water. The fish breathes air through a modified swim bladder that functions like a primitive lung. When rain eventually returns and water refills their habitat, the lungfish emerges from its cocoon and resumes normal life within hours. During estivation, the fish metabolizes its own muscle tissue for energy, losing significant body mass but preserving vital organs. This remarkable adaptation allows lungfish to survive in unpredictable African water systems where other fish species cannot persist. Some specimens have been documented surviving in museum mud for over a year before being rehydrated. 17. The wood frog has mastered survival in conditions that would kill most vertebrates. In winter, when temperatures plummet far below freezing across North America, this remarkable amphibian doesn't seek shelter deep underground like other frogs. Instead, it freezes solid. According to research published in the Journal of Experimental Biology, up to 70% of the water in its body crystallizes into ice. Its heart stops beating completely. Its breathing ceases. Blood stops flowing. Ice crystals form throughout its body, and if you picked one up, it would be stiff and frozen. Yet somehow, the frog survives through a sophisticated biochemical process. As freezing begins, its liver produces massive amounts of glucose, essentially converting its body into an antifreeze solution. This glucose penetrates into cells, preventing them from collapsing or rupturing as ice forms in spaces between cells. When spring arrives and temperatures rise, the frog thaws from the inside out, its heart spontaneously begins beating, and within hours, it's hopping around completely normal, ready to breed. 18. Archerfish have evolved one of the most remarkable hunting techniques in the aquatic world, combining physics, accuracy, and learning in a way that seems almost impossible. These fish hunt by spitting water at insects and spiders perched on vegetation above the water's surface. But they're not just spitting randomly. According to behavioral ecology research, they account for both refraction and gravity when aiming. Light bends when passing from air to water, making objects appear in different positions than they actually are. The archerfish compensates for this optical illusion instinctively. They can hit targets up to 10 feet away with startling accuracy, adjusting the force and angle of their water jet based on distance. They shape their mouth into a tube, press their tongue against a groove in the roof of their mouth, and forcefully contract their gill covers to create a powerful, focused stream. Young archerfish practice extensively and learn by watching adults. Their accuracy improves with experience, demonstrating genuine learning and skill development. 19. The lyrebird, native to Australian forests, is the world's greatest vocal mimic. According to research from the Australian Museum, these birds can accurately reproduce almost any sound they hear, and they hear a lot. In natural settings, they mimic other birds, producing calls from dozens of species in elaborate medleys. But in areas near human activity, they've been documented perfectly imitating chainsaws, car alarms, camera shutters, crying babies, barking dogs, and even orchestral music. One captive lyrebird named Chook became famous for mimicking its keeper's flute, playing with such accuracy that musicians couldn't distinguish the bird from the instrument. Male lyrebirds use these complex vocal performances during courtship, singing for hours while dancing. The more sounds they can reproduce, the more impressive the display. They have a specialized vocal organ called a syrinx that allows extraordinary control over pitch, tone, and rhythm, creating acoustic illusions that can fool even experienced naturalists. 20. Komodo dragons have shattered one of the fundamental rules of reproduction. Females can produce viable offspring without any male contact whatsoever through a process called parthenogenesis, virgin birth. A 2006 study published in Nature journal documented this in 2 separate zoos. Female Komodo dragons, who had never been exposed to males, laid eggs that successfully hatched into healthy offspring. This isn't accidental fertilization from stored sperm. Genetic analysis confirmed the babies were produced entirely from the mother's DNA with no male contribution. The process occurs through a specific type of cell division that essentially allows an egg to fertilize itself. Interestingly, all parthenogenically produced offspring are male. This might serve as a survival mechanism. An isolated female can produce males, who can then breed with her to create a more genetically diverse population. In some cases, females who previously bred with males later produced parthenogenic offspring, suggesting they can switch between reproductive strategies. 21. Elephants communicate through channels we literally cannot perceive. While we hear their trumpets and rumbles, according to research from Stanford University, elephants also produce infrasound, calls below the frequency range of human hearing, typically below 20 Hz. These deep rumbles travel through the air, but they also travel through the ground as seismic waves. Elephants detect these vibrations through their feet, which contain specialized receptors sensitive enough to pick up signals from other herds up to 6 miles away. By lifting a foot or pressing their toenails and trunk tip against the ground, they can enhance reception. They can distinguish between different calls, identifying which elephant sent the message and interpreting its meaning. This allows separated family groups to coordinate movements, locate water sources, and warn of danger across vast distances. Females in estrus broadcast their reproductive status, and males travel toward them from miles away, guided by vibrations traveling through the earth beneath them. 22. The box jellyfish possesses one of the most sophisticated visual systems among invertebrates, despite lacking any centralized brain. It has 24 eyes arranged in 4 separate visual structures called rhopalia, distributed around its bell. According to jellyfish neuroscience research, these eyes are remarkably diverse. Some are simple light-detecting pits, while others are complex eyes with corneas, lenses, and retinas similar to our own. The box jellyfish can see in 360 degrees, detect obstacles, judge distances, and navigate through complex environments like mangrove roots. It actively swims toward prey and away from solid objects, requiring visual processing, decision-making, and motor control, all without anything resembling a traditional brain. Instead, its nervous system is distributed as a nerve net throughout its body, with concentrations near each rhopalium acting as mini processing centers. This raises fascinating questions about consciousness and intelligence. How much complex behavior can occur without a centralized brain? 23. Poison dart frogs aren't actually born poisonous, a fact that surprised scientists and completely changed our understanding of their toxicity. Research in herpetology and toxicology has revealed that these brilliantly colored frogs acquire their deadly toxins from their diet in the wild. They consume specific mites, ants, beetles, and other small arthropods that contain alkaloid compounds. The frogs sequester these toxins in their skin glands, becoming progressively more poisonous over time. In captivity, when fed fruit flies and other non-toxic food, poison dart frogs produce no toxins whatsoever. Their offspring are also non-poisonous. This means the bright colors aren't warning predators about inherent danger, but rather advertising the accumulated chemical arsenal the frog has gathered. Different populations of the same species can have vastly different toxicity levels depending on what prey is available in their specific location. The frogs are somehow immune to their own toxins, with slight modifications in their cellular receptors that prevent self-poisoning. 24. Male bowerbirds are the architects and interior designers of the bird world, constructing elaborate structures for the sole purpose of attracting females. Unlike most bird nests built for housing eggs, bowers serve only as courtship venues. According to behavioral ornithology studies, males spend weeks or months building avenue-shaped or maypole-style structures from sticks, carefully arranging and rearranging every element. Then comes the decoration phase. The males obsessively collect blue objects along with other colorful items, arranging them around their bower in specific patterns. They'll gather blue feathers, flowers, berries, shells, and in modern times, bottle caps, pen caps, drinking straws, or any blue plastic they can find. Some species arrange objects by size, creating forced perspective that makes the bower appear larger. Males constantly tend their bowers, removing dead flowers, stealing decorations from rival males, and adjusting arrangements. When a female visits, the male performs an elaborate dance while she critically evaluates both the bower and his performance. The more aesthetically pleasing the bower, the higher his mating success. 25. The peregrine falcon is the undisputed speed champion of the animal kingdom. During level flight, it flies around 40-60 miles per hour, respectable but not record-breaking. But when hunting, the peregrine performs a maneuver called a stoop, folding its wings tight against its body and diving nearly vertically toward prey. According to research from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, these hunting dives can reach speeds of 242 miles per hour, making the peregrine the fastest animal on Earth. At that speed, the impact force when striking prey can exceed 50 times the force of gravity. The falcon has evolved several adaptations to survive these extreme velocities. Bony tubercles in its nostrils slow incoming air and prevent lung damage. A third translucent eyelid called a nictitating membrane protects its eyes while maintaining vision. And incredibly strong chest muscles and bones absorb impact forces. The falcon typically strikes prey with a clenched foot, stunning or killing instantly with the kinetic energy of its high-speed collision. 26. Emperor penguins endure the harshest breeding conditions of any bird, incubating their eggs during the Antarctic winter in temperatures reaching 40 degrees Fahrenheit and winds exceeding 100 miles per hour. According to British Antarctic Survey research, after the female lays a single egg, she transfers it to the male and immediately departs for the ocean to feed, leaving him alone for the entire winter. The male balances the egg on his feet, covered by a warm fold of skin called a brood pouch. He stands in this position for 64 consecutive days without eating, living entirely off stored body fat. During this time, he can lose up to 45% of his body weight. Males huddle together in massive groups, taking turns moving to the warmer center of the huddle, then cycling back to the cold exterior, a rotating system that keeps all members alive. When chicks hatch, fathers feed them with a milky secretion produced in their esophagus until mothers return from the sea. Emperor penguins can dive to depths of 1,150 feet and hold their breath for over 20 minutes while hunting fish, squid, and krill in the frigid Antarctic waters. Their remarkable physiology and cooperative behavior allow them to breed in Earth's most extreme environment. 27. The narwhal's tusk, spiraling up to 10 feet long, isn't just for show or combat, it's an extraordinary sensory organ. According to research from Harvard School of Dental Medicine, this elongated tooth contains approximately 10 million nerve endings running from its core to the surface. The tusk functions as a giant sensor capable of detecting temperature variations, pressure changes, salinity levels, and chemical gradients in the water. When narwhals swim, they wave their tusks around, essentially tasting the ocean ahead of them. They can detect the salinity changes that indicate where rivers meet the ocean, identify areas with higher concentrations of prey, and sense approaching predators or changes in ice conditions. Tiny pores in the tusk's surface allow seawater to reach the nerve endings directly. The tusk's sensitivity is so extreme that when fresh water flows over it, researchers have observed changes in the narwhal's heart rate, suggesting the tusk sends information directly to the animal's cardiovascular system. 28. Axolotls possess regenerative abilities that seem like science fiction. These unusual salamanders, native to Mexican lakes, can regenerate entire limbs, complete with bones, muscles, nerves, and blood vessels. But it goes far beyond limbs. According to research from the Max Planck Institute and other regenerative medicine laboratories, axolotls can regrow portions of their heart, lungs, spinal cord, eyes, and even sections of their brain, all without any scarring. When an axolotl loses a limb, cells at the injury site transform into a blastema, a mass of undifferentiated cells similar to stem cells. These cells then differentiate into whatever tissue types are needed: bone cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, perfectly reconstructing the missing structure in its original form. They can repeat this process throughout their lives, regenerating the same limb multiple times if necessary. Scientists are intensely studying axolotls, hoping to understand the genetic and molecular mechanisms that permit such remarkable regeneration, with potential applications for human medicine. 29. The electric eel isn't actually an eel, it's a type of knife fish, but its electrical abilities are very real. According to research from the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, these fish can generate electrical discharges up to 860 volts, enough to stun a horse or throw a grown human across a room. About 80% of the eel's body consists of specialized organs made up of thousands of electricity-generating cells called electrocytes stacked like batteries. The fish can produce 3 types of electrical discharges: low-voltage pulses for navigation and communication in murky water, medium-voltage pulses to detect prey by analyzing how objects distort the electric field, and high-voltage shocks for hunting and defense. When attacking prey, electric eels can leap partially out of the water to deliver stronger shocks directly, pressing their chin against the threat to maximize electrical contact. They can control the intensity, duration, and frequency of their discharges with precision, sometimes releasing hundreds of high-voltage pulses in rapid succession to completely incapacitate prey. 30. Cuttlefish are masters of camouflage, capable of changing color, pattern, and skin texture in less than a third of a second, and they accomplish this extraordinary feat despite being completely colorblind. According to research from the Marine Biological Laboratory, cuttlefish have millions of pigment-containing cells called chromatophores in their skin, along with iridophores that reflect light and leucophores that scatter it. By expanding and contracting these cells, they can create virtually any pattern imaginable. But here's the paradox: their eyes contain only a single type of photoreceptor, meaning they see the world in shades of gray. So how do they match colors perfectly? Scientists believe cuttlefish may perceive color through chromatic aberration, the way different light wavelengths focus at slightly different distances. Their distinctively W-shaped pupils might enhance this effect. They also have skin-based light sensors that detect color independently from their eyes. Whatever the mechanism, their camouflage is so effective they can vanish against complex backgrounds like coral reefs, checkerboard patterns, or even moving images, adjusting their appearance continuously as they move. 31. Arctic terns undertake the longest migration of any animal on Earth, a journey so extensive it's almost beyond comprehension. According to research from the Audubon Society using tracking devices, these small seabirds fly approximately 44,000 miles each year in a pole-to-pole migration. They breed in the Arctic during the northern hemisphere summer, then fly south, not stopping in temperate zones, but continuing all the way to Antarctica for the southern hemisphere summer. Then they make the return journey. This means Arctic terns experience 2 summers every year, seeing more daylight than any other creature on the planet. Over their 30-year lifespan, an individual tern may fly 1.5 million miles, equivalent to 3 round trips to the moon. They don't take a direct route either, often meandering to follow productive ocean currents where food is abundant. The birds weigh only about 4 ounces, roughly the weight of a stick of butter, yet possess the endurance and navigational ability to traverse entire oceans year after year with remarkable precision. 32. Sloths have developed one of the most unusual bathroom habits in the animal kingdom, one that seems to contradict basic survival instincts. According to research from the Wildlife Conservation Society, sloths defecate only once per week, and they always climb down from their trees to do so on the forest floor, a journey that puts them at tremendous risk. On the ground, sloths move extremely slowly and are vulnerable to predators like jaguars and harpy eagles. This bathroom expedition can take up to 30% of their daily energy expenditure. When they finally defecate, they lose up to 30% of their body weight in a single bowel movement. So why take this dangerous, exhausting trip? Scientists believe it's related to moths that live in sloth fur. When the sloth defecates at the base of its regular trees, female moths lay eggs in the dung. The hatched moths later fly up to join the sloth, and their presence promotes algae growth in the fur, providing camouflage and possibly supplemental nutrition when sloths lick their fur. 33. The glass frog has evolved one of nature's most remarkable forms of transparency. While many animals use camouflage to avoid detection, glass frogs take it to an extreme. Their ventral skin is so transparent you can see directly inside their bodies. According to tropical herpetology research, you can watch their hearts beating in real time, observe their digestive systems processing food, see blood flowing through vessels, and in pregnant females, count the developing eggs. The frogs accomplish this through several mechanisms. They have very few pigment cells on their bellies. Their organs are positioned to minimize overlap when viewed from below, and their tissues have properties that reduce light scattering. From above, the frogs appear green and blend with leaves, but from below, against a leafy background, their transparency makes them nearly invisible. Scientists are studying the glass frog's ability to hide its blood. The red blood cells that would normally reveal the frog's position somehow become concealed during rest periods. 34. Wolves are perhaps best known for their haunting howls, sounds that have captivated and frightened humans for millennia. According to research from the International Wolf Center, these howls serve multiple sophisticated purposes and can be heard up to 6 miles away in forests and up to 10 miles across open tundra. Each wolf has a unique voice that other pack members recognize individually. They howl to assemble the pack, coordinate hunts, defend territory, and strengthen social bonds. Before a hunt, wolves often engage in a group howl that seems to energize and synchronize the pack. They adjust their howl pitch when singing together to create the illusion of more wolves than are actually present, making neighboring packs overestimate their numbers. Wolves can identify the howls of specific individuals from miles away and distinguish their own pack members from strangers. When a pack member dies, surviving wolves have been observed howling more frequently, suggesting the vocalizations may serve emotional functions beyond pure communication. 35. Sand tiger sharks practice the most extreme form of sibling rivalry found in nature, intrauterine cannibalism. According to shark reproduction research, female sand tiger sharks have 2 uteri, and multiple embryos begin development in each. But only 2 pups will be born, 1 from each uterus. What happens to the others? The first embryo to develop teeth in each uterus consumes all its siblings, systematically hunting and eating them before birth. The dominant embryo even consumes unfertilized eggs the mother continues to produce, using them as nutrition to grow larger. By the time of birth, the surviving pup is already a skilled predator, having honed hunting skills on its siblings. This brutal strategy ensures that only the strongest, most developed offspring survive, and the mother invests all her resources into these 2 rather than spreading resources across many weaker offspring. The phenomenon was discovered accidentally when a researcher examining a pregnant female was bitten by the embryo inside. This dramatic form of prenatal competition demonstrates how evolutionary pressures can produce strategies that seem shockingly ruthless, but are highly effective for species survival in competitive ocean environments. 36. Humpback whales create complex songs lasting 10 to 20 minutes that they repeat for hours at a time, and these songs evolve throughout a breeding season. According to cetacean acoustic research, only males sing, suggesting the songs serve reproductive purposes, attracting females, or establishing dominance among males. What makes these songs remarkable is their structure and cultural transmission. Each population of humpback whales has its own song, different from other populations, and all males in a population sing essentially the same song during a breeding season. But the song changes gradually over time. New phrases appear, old phrases disappear, patterns shift. By the end of a breeding season, the song is noticeably different from its beginning. When populations mix during migration, songs can transfer between groups. Sometimes an entirely new song will spread through a population within a single season, replacing the old song completely, a cultural revolution. The songs have hierarchical structure with units combining into phrases, phrases into themes, and themes into complete songs. This compositional complexity is rare in animal communication. Scientists still debate whether these elaborate songs demonstrate aesthetic sense, with whales appreciating and refining the beauty of their music. 37. The geoduck clam has one of the longest lifespans of any animal, living well over 140 years, with some specimens estimated at 168 years old. According to marine invertebrate longevity research, these massive clams can weigh over 2 pounds and have a siphon, a long, trunk-like appendage that can extend up to 3 feet from their buried shells. The geoduck, pronounce it gooey duck, spends its entire life in one spot, burying itself in mud or sand with only the siphon exposed above the sediment. The siphon draws in seawater for filter feeding and respiration. Growth rings in geoduck shells, similar to tree rings, allow scientists to determine age. The shells show rapid growth in early years, then progressively slower growth rates as they age. Their extraordinary longevity makes them valuable for studying aging processes and understanding how some organisms avoid age-related deterioration. They're also commercially harvested, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, and their long lifespans mean populations recover very slowly from overharvesting. 38. The Goliath bird-eater tarantula is the largest spider by mass in the world, with a leg span reaching 11 inches and weight up to 6 ounces, comparable to a small puppy. According to arachnology research, despite its name, it rarely eats birds. The name comes from an 18th century engraving showing one eating a hummingbird, but their normal diet consists of insects, frogs, and small rodents. When threatened, the Goliath bird-eater produces a hissing sound by rubbing specialized bristles on its legs together, a behavior called stridulation that's audible from several feet away, warning potential predators. If that doesn't deter threats, it releases a cloud of urticating hairs from its abdomen that cause severe irritation to eyes, skin, and respiratory passages. These barbed hairs are designed to lodge in tissues and cause prolonged discomfort. The spider's fangs can reach nearly an inch long, and while its venom isn't deadly to humans, a bite is extremely painful and comparable to a wasp sting due to the mechanical damage from the fangs alone. Despite their formidable appearance and defenses, Goliath bird-eaters are relatively docile and prefer to flee rather than fight unless cornered. 39. The sailfish is a torpedo with fins, holding the title of fastest fish in the ocean. According to NOAA Fisheries research, sailfish can reach burst speeds of 68 miles per hour, significantly faster than a cheetah runs on land. They achieve this remarkable velocity through several adaptations: a streamlined body shape that minimizes drag, powerful muscles, concentrated near their center of mass, and a specialized tissue called red muscle with high myoglobin content for sustained power. Their distinctive sail-like dorsal fin usually stays folded in a groove along their back during high-speed swimming, reducing resistance. When hunting, sailfish work cooperatively, using their sails and bright colors to confuse and contain schools of prey fish. They slash through the school with their long, sharp bills, injuring or stunning fish, then circle back to consume them. Their bills also reduce drag and may help them change direction rapidly. The sailfish's speed comes at an energy cost. They must feed frequently and maintain high metabolic rates to support their explosive swimming capabilities. 40. The platypus is so biologically peculiar that when British scientists first examined a specimen in 1798, they suspected an elaborate hoax. According to Natural History Museum London archives, zoologist George Shaw believed someone had sewn a duck's bill onto a beaver's body as a prank, but the platypus is entirely real, just extraordinarily unusual. It's a mammal, yet it lays eggs. It has a bill like a duck, a tail like a beaver, and venomous spurs on its hind legs, one of the few venomous mammals. Males can inject venom powerful enough to kill small animals and cause excruciating pain in humans, though it's not lethal. The platypus has no stomach. Its esophagus connects directly to its intestines. It hunts underwater with its eyes, ears, and nostrils closed, relying entirely on electroreception, detecting the electrical fields generated by muscle contractions in prey. Its bill contains thousands of electroreceptors, allowing it to sense shrimp and insect larvae buried in river sediment. The platypus is truly a mosaic of features that seem like they shouldn't exist together. 41. Crows possess a level of intelligence that borders on unsettling, particularly when it comes to their memory for human faces. Research conducted at the University of Washington in 2011 demonstrated something remarkable. Crows can hold grudges against specific people for years and teach their offspring to recognize and avoid those individuals. In the study, researchers wearing particular masks captured and banded wild crows. For years afterward, those crows would scold, dive bomb, and mob anyone wearing those specific masks, even though they'd never personally been captured. Young crows who weren't even born during the original capture learned to recognize and react to the masked humans by watching their parents. The crows remembered these faces for at least 5 years, possibly much longer. They can distinguish between individual human faces with remarkable accuracy, recognizing people by their features even when clothing or context changes. It's a sophisticated form of cultural learning and long-term memory. 42. The peacock mantis shrimp doesn't just have remarkable punching power, it has the most complex visual system of any animal on Earth. According to research from the University of Queensland, while humans have 3 types of color receptors, allowing us to see millions of colors, the mantis shrimp has 12 to 16 types of photoreceptors. This means they can perceive a spectrum of colors we literally cannot imagine. They also see polarized light in both linear and circular forms, something almost no other animal can do. They detect ultraviolet light invisible to us. Each of their compound eyes moves independently and contains trinocular vision in each eye, meaning each eye has depth perception on its own. Scientists initially thought this complex system would give mantis shrimp extraordinarily refined color discrimination, but research revealed something surprising. They actually distinguish colors less precisely than humans. Instead, their system appears optimized for speed, allowing them to identify colors and make decisions almost instantaneously without the processing time our brains require. 43. Giraffes have one of the most unusual sleep patterns in the animal kingdom, resting far less than almost any other mammal. According to African wildlife biology studies, giraffes sleep only 5 to 30 minutes per day, usually in short naps lasting just a few minutes each. They can sleep standing up, but for deep sleep, they fold their long legs beneath them and rest their heads on their rumps, creating an almost circular shape. However, this position makes them extremely vulnerable to predators, so they only enter deep sleep for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. Their minimal sleep requirement is likely an evolutionary adaptation, with their heads up to 18 feet off the ground. Lying down and standing up requires considerable effort and time, during which they're defenseless. In the wild, being constantly alert and ready to flee provides better survival odds than getting adequate rest. Despite sleeping less than practically any other mammal, giraffes show no signs of sleep deprivation, suggesting their brains may have evolved different sleep requirements or more efficient rest cycles. 44. Hammerhead sharks have evolved one of the most unusual head shapes in nature, and according to elasmobranch sensory research, that distinctive hammer serves multiple sophisticated functions. The wide, flat head acts as a wing during swimming, providing lift and enhancing maneuverability. Hammerheads can turn more sharply than other sharks. But the primary advantage is sensory. Sharks have specialized organs called ampullae of Lorenzini, electroreceptors that detect the weak electrical fields generated by muscle contractions in prey. By spreading these sensors across a wide head, hammerheads create an exceptionally large sensory array, essentially giving them a metal detector for finding prey buried in sand. They swing their heads side to side while swimming, scanning the seafloor like someone sweeping a detector across a beach. Their widely spaced eyes also provide better binocular vision and depth perception than other sharks. Some species have heads nearly as wide as their body length. Stingrays, a favorite prey, often bury themselves in sand with only their eyes exposed, but hammerheads can detect their electrical signatures from above and pin them down with their heads before consuming them. The bizarre head shape perfectly optimizes the shark for its hunting strategy. 45. Sea cucumbers have developed one of the most bizarre and effective defense mechanisms in the ocean. When threatened by predators, according to regenerative biology research, sea cucumbers can expel their internal organs, intestines, respiratory structures, and reproductive organs through either their mouth or anus in a process called evisceration. The expelled organs are often sticky, toxic, or tangled, confusing, or entrapping the predator while the sea cucumber escapes. Some species shoot out special tubules that become sticky and entangle attackers. What makes this even more remarkable is that evisceration isn't fatal. Over the following weeks, the sea cucumber regenerates all its expelled organs completely, growing new digestive systems, respiratory trees, and other structures from scratch. During regeneration, the animal can survive without eating, drawing on stored nutrients. Some species can eviscerate and regenerate multiple times throughout their lives. Scientists study sea cucumbers intensely, hoping to understand the genetic and cellular mechanisms that permit such extreme regeneration, with potential applications for human medicine and tissue engineering. 46. Hognose snakes have developed one of nature's most dramatic and convincing death-feigning displays. According to herpetology defensive behavior research, when threatened and unable to escape, these snakes flip onto their backs, hang their tongues out, emit foul-smelling musk, and sometimes even bleed from their mouths, playing dead with theatrical commitment. They writhe dramatically during the transition, then lie completely still with their mouths open, appearing deceased. If you flip them right side up, they'll immediately roll back onto their backs, apparently insisting they're dead. This death feigning, called thanatosis, works because many predators prefer live prey or are suspicious of carrion that might be diseased. The snake maintains this performance until it senses the threat has passed, then cautiously rights itself and slithers away. Before playing dead, hognose snakes try other defenses, flattening their necks like cobras to appear larger, hissing loudly, and making mock strikes with closed mouths. Only when these bluffs fail do they resort to their death act. Despite their dramatic defensive displays, hognose snakes are harmless to humans, with mild venom only effective on their primary prey. Toads. 47. The oarfish is a creature of deep oceans and ancient legends. According to deep-sea ichthyology research, these serpentine fish can grow up to 36 feet long, longer than a telephone pole, making them the longest bony fish in the world. Their bodies are ribbon flat and silver, with a bright red dorsal fin running the entire length like a mohawk. They swim by undulating their long bodies in a wave-like motion, occasionally orienting vertically with their heads near the surface. Oarfish typically live at depths of 600 to 3,000 feet, rarely coming to shallow water. When they do appear near the surface or wash ashore, often before earthquakes in Japanese folklore, their bizarre appearance likely inspired ancient sea serpent legends. They have large eyes adapted for deep water vision and a small mouth without visible teeth. Despite their imposing size, oarfish feed on tiny plankton, krill, and small fish by filtering water through their gill rakers. Very few people have seen living oarfish, and most scientific knowledge comes from specimens that washed up dead on beaches. 48. The stonefish holds the deadly distinction of being the most venomous fish in the world, and its camouflage makes it nearly impossible to spot. According to research from the Australian Institute of Marine Science, stonefish have evolved to look exactly like coral-covered rocks or debris on the ocean floor. They remain motionless for weeks at a time, waiting for prey to pass within striking distance. Their bodies are lumpy and irregular, often colonized by actual algae and small organisms that enhance their disguise. Along their dorsal surface, they have 13 spines, each connected to venom glands. When stepped on or threatened, these spines inject venom powerful enough to kill an adult human within hours. The venom causes excruciating pain, tissue death, and in severe cases, heart failure. Stonefish are ambush predators, using their perfect camouflage to avoid detection by both prey and predators. Divers and swimmers accidentally step on them, mistaking them for actual stones. Indigenous Australians have long known to shuffle their feet when walking in shallow water to avoid stepping directly down on hidden stonefish. 49. The blobfish has become an internet sensation for its sagging, melancholy appearance, but that famous sad face is actually the result of extreme pressure change. According to research from the Australian Museum, the blobfish lives at ocean depths of 2,000 to 4,000 feet, where pressure is 60 to 120 times greater than at sea level. At these depths, the blobfish looks relatively normal. Its gelatinous, low-density flesh is perfectly adapted to high-pressure environments, providing buoyancy. Without the gas-filled swim bladder most fish use, it drifts just above the seafloor, expending minimal energy, mouth open to capture passing crustaceans and mollusks. When brought to the surface rapidly, usually as bycatch in deep sea trawling, the dramatic pressure reduction causes its body to expand and lose structural integrity, creating the saggy, blob-like appearance in photographs. In its natural habitat, the blobfish is a successful deep-sea predator with a body plan optimized for survival in one of Earth's most extreme environments. The sad blobfish is essentially experiencing explosive decompression. 50. Polar bear fur isn't white, and understanding why requires looking at 3 different levels of their biology. According to research from Polar Bears International, each individual hair on a polar bear is completely transparent and hollow, essentially tiny tubes with air inside. These hollow hairs provide excellent insulation, trapping warm air close to the bear's skin. The hairs appear white because they scatter and reflect visible light, the same way snow appears white despite being made of transparent ice crystals. Underneath all this fur, polar bear skin is actually jet black, which helps absorb heat from sunlight. The combination, transparent hollow hairs scattering light above black skin, creates the white appearance we associate with polar bears, while providing maximum insulation and heat absorption. In certain lighting conditions, polar bear fur can even appear yellow or green. The yellowish tint sometimes comes from oils in their diet, while green coloration occurs when algae grows inside the hollow hairs, which can happen in warm, humid captivity. In the wild Arctic, however, they appear brilliant white, providing perfect camouflage against ice and snow. And there you have it, 50 fascinating facts about the extraordinary animals sharing our planet. We've journeyed from the deepest ocean trenches where snailfish endure crushing pressure to creatures that reverse aging. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. I'd love to know where this content is reaching. And if you have a favorite fact from today's list, share that too. Which one surprised you most? Which one made you see these creatures differently? Thanks so much for spending this time with me tonight, exploring the remarkable, the bizarre, and the absolutely astonishing creatures we share this planet with. Until next time, stay curious.